Viewers, we're here right now with the governor of Edo State, Governor Oshiomhole. Thank you so much for agreeing to this interview.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So first of all, congratulations on your recent wedding.
Thank you very much.
And you know what? Let's come back to that. Let me start with the main issue first. So first of all, why are you here in Washington, D.C. with Mr. President?
Well, as you already know, I am a member of part of his delegation. The official visit, working visit to the U.S. at the invitation of President Obama. And I think about 5 of us governors from various parts of the country are on the entourage along with other government officials. And I think the whole purpose is to engage with the U.S. and see what we can do together to address some of the challenges that confront Nigeria, the area in which U.S. can extend a helping hand in a way that we add value to the life of our people. During the electionary campaign, President Buhari was very clear about what the challenges are, and he identified them clearly as issues of corruption, fighting and defeating corruption. And as you know, he said, if we can't kill corruption, corruption will kill Nigeria. So that tells you how much he feels about it. And the second is that we also identify issue of security, that all of a sudden Nigeria, part of Nigeria was occupied by insurgents and even hosting flag on our national soil. And our armed forces appear increasingly helpless. And for the first time in our history, our members of our armed forces are reported as running away from battlefield. And all sorts of things that we never imagined could happen before. So you have issues of security. And of course, talking of security, you're not just focusing on the obvious issue of Boko Haram. There are other security challenges, kidnapping, other form of violent crimes, around the country. Of course, you also have a population of 170 million people dominated by young people, many of whom are completely unemployed. Some well-educated, some not so educated, but many unemployed. And that itself poses huge challenge in terms of, security of the country, fighting poverty, keeping young people busy, and in fact stabilizing the system. And for a president whose support base can be located among and within the poor, the masses, obviously issues of poverty eradication will naturally assume the front burner. So I think these are another issues issues that the president brought to Washington, and I think so far so good. We received what I consider to be a very, very positive response.
And talking of responses, I'm trying to know what you've been able to achieve so far since you got here.
I think, like I said, you are clear what you need, and who can really help in some of the areas. And clearly America, there is no question, is in a position to provide some assistance. And beginning with the meeting with President Obama at the Oval Office and all the other high government officials we've met, Secretary of State, Secretary of Energy, Secretary for the legal, the Attorney General Office, etc. Everybody has been quite positive. They recognize that U.S. can and is ready to support Nigeria in many critical areas.
Like in which areas are they?
They are all excited by the leadership quality that President Buhari is bringing on board. In fact, President Obama was emphatic that Buhari commands so much integrity that gives American confidence that there is a government on ground that Americans can relate with. And it's clear that they have had some frustration with the immediate past government. And they were concerned about the ease with which Boko Haram was spreading. And, of course, worried about the part of the consequences, including internally displaced persons that are now in excess of 1.5 million people who are now homeless, mostly rural people, including women in particular, who have been widowed by Boko Haram attack, and a number of children who have been orphaned by the same Boko Haram activities. So we have huge humanitarian challenges. So on all the issues, so far, I think the attitude of American government is we are set, we are ready to help. In fact, we want to do more than do talking. We want to really get on with the job. They recognize that there is a government they could trust, because it is one thing to provide assistance, it's another to ensure that it gets to the target group. And once there are issues of transparency, corruption, etc., the attitude of the West is, wait a minute, don't throw away your dollars. I think right now there is there is confidence in the leadership of President Buhari, and that for me is very exciting.
Has the U.S. pledged anything, like maybe money-wise, or the World Bank, or what do we have concrete on ground?
Well, I don't think you want to look at it in terms of dollars or cents. I mean, but the truth of the matter is virtually every support you need, we virtually translate to dollars and cents.
Okay.
I mean, if you're going to provide support for training and retraining of the armed forces, you want to provide support to deal with issues of resettling those who have been displaced, want to rebuild the economy, encourage investment, support the power sector, because at the heart of the Boko Haram crisis is the huge issue of poverty. What you might call greedy poverty, people who have no reason to want to live till tomorrow. And so part of the challenge in terms of a holistic approach to dealing with the issue is to try to look at the causes rather than just dealing with the consequences. And part of the cause is issue of poverty. Although that is not specific to that part of the country. But overall, we do need to address issues of a country that is so richly endowed and people getting poorer and poorer. Obviously, that paradox has to be broken and move away from the vicious cycle we are currently in to a virtuous cycle.
Speaking of money, sir, there's been a lot of confusion about the excess crude account. Exactly what is going on? Where are we? And what's the role that the former finance minister is playing regarding the excess crude account?
Okay, I think this is just one element because in a sense, that's why you see we keep throwing different numbers at different times, because what is obvious is that so much money was stolen and diverted from government treasury. It's not just from excess crude, even from other agencies of government. And the numbers are huge. I mean, for example, NNPC reports that we earn about roughly 8 trillion naira over a period of 3-4 years. And during the same period, they claim they spend about 3.5 trillion naira and pay to the Federation account about 4.1 trillion naira. So the cost of running an NPC is just as much as the cost of running the Federation. That is both federal and states put together. So that tells you the amount of primitive stealing that went on. The numbers are mind-boggling. So when we talk of excess crude, that is just one element. And it arose from, try to deal with the current challenges that many state governments are facing, including federal government. That is a situation in which, for several months, some states simply find that they are unable to meet their most basic obligation, which is to pay salary of people who work for the government. Now, this situation has been on some 9 months, 7 months. There is a particular state in the north, about 1 year or so, some 3 months, some 2 months. And as you will expect, people started asking questions, what went wrong? Of course, the ready explanation is that, drop in oil prices. Yes, prices have dropped from a peak of about $140 a barrel around 2007, 2008. down to about $40 a barrel around 2009, and picked up again to about 108 on the average between 2010 through to 2014, if up to the end of 2013, before dropping to now an average of about $50. Now, people think that it is this drop that explains the financial crisis. But some of us argue that it is not just the factor of drop in price, because after all, the oil prices had dropped to $9 during General Abdul Salami's government, and salaries were paid. So part of the problem is that we've suffered not just a drop in price, but huge quantities of crude was stolen at source. I mean, all of a sudden, as I'm sure you are one of the most vigilant, will I say, investigative reporters that most people tune to now to get hard facts. You begin to ask the question, what went wrong that all of a sudden we are told by an NPC that as much as 400,000 barrels of crude oil is stolen every day? In fact, when we ask questions, and I remember asking the Minister of Finance, we can't continue like this. We explain them away as if they were natural thing. They are a given. There's nothing we can do about it. And I ask the question, what has changed about our boundaries? We still have the Navy. No matter how ill-equipped the Navy is, you can have a big ship in Nigeria waters for weeks, cutting away oil, and they are using shuttle vessels to feed these big vessels, cutting away hundreds of thousands of barrels of crude every day. And I said, it's like your wife telling you, or let's not say your wife, your cook, because the mom may well be the cook, that the elephant leg is missing. Nobody has broken into the yard. So, I mean, and this happens consistently. It got to a point that we found, according to NPC figures, that sometimes they claim for a period of 1 week on daily basis, as much as 700,000 barrels of crude is allegedly stolen.
Wow.
Now, this is part of the problem.
How much did you say is stolen every day?
Even the one that is now declared. We had a budgetary system in which, regardless of the price of crude, government used a certain benchmark for budgetary purpose. So between 2010 to 2013, the benchmark was an average of $78 a barrel. Okay. But during the same period, prices averaged $108 to $110 a barrel, which meant that you were saving as much as 35% of your actual earning. And so it is this saving that we call so-called excess crude, excess in relation to the benchmark. Now, this fund is not appropriated by the National Assembly because the National Assembly Appropriation Act is based on the benchmark. So anything over and above the benchmark ought to flow to what they now call excess crude account.
Yeah.
Now, what the minister had choose to do in the name of transparency, which of course we all encourage, was that she published monthly what is distributed between the three tiers of government, the federal, the state, and the local government. But consistently, she refused to publish what is not distributed. Okay. That is to say, she published what is captured under the benchmark, but the excess between the benchmark and the actual price that flows to the excess crude account, those numbers were never published. And even when she reports to the National Economic Council meeting, I remember asking her that, look, even in village meeting, you don't report financial issues orally. You need to have document your report, so that first we can file them. They are not just for our own consumption. Yes, we are elected governor, but we are representatives, and so we represent the state, and we are accountable. It's not up to me to go to Edo and tell the people that I was told X was in the SS crude. We need to be able to explain, have some documentary evidence, and that was never available. And I think that was it.
Sorry, sir, because we only have 5 more minutes, and I want to make sure that we get everything. I want to say that it looks like you don't believe the reports of the finance minister, or how would you describe her role, and what do you want her to do?
Now, I think the immediate issue is that the last time she reported, at the point the SS crude account grew up to over $10 billion. And then without any explanation, it dropped to $4 billion. And then we ask questions. How could it drop? We have not shared the money. And this money belongs to the 3 tiers of government. And of course, sometimes she will explain it's about Shopee, some other times it's about subsidy, some other times it's about sharing. And then the last report she gave on the 14th of November 2014, she reported that we have $4.1 billion. Again, oral report, not a written, but it was captured in the minutes. But when we met last month, the ministry reported that they had only $2 billion left, which means $2.1 billion had disappeared. And we asked questions, where is the money? And the minister claimed that, the commissioners of states, commissioner of finance in their meeting, what they call FAC, authorize the withdrawal of the money. But of course we know that they don't have such powers because the power is vested in the National Economic Council. And of course the commissioners met and denied that this never happened. And then she changed and said, no. It was the president who approved. Now the issue is the president in a position to spend money belonging not only to federal government, but also money belonging to states and money belonging to local government? It doesn't have such powers.
What do you want her to do?
No, what we're saying is that she needs to come clean. She needs to come clean. She should accept responsibility. Having accepted the role of a coordinating minister, too many things went wrong with the Nigerian economy. I mean, to a point that in the first time in our history, even the federal government can't pay salaries. They have to borrow. The entire pension fund has been drawn down. The social purpose of the pension scheme has now been defeated because workers' social capital, which pension fund represents, is made to address some of the social needs of workers, like provision of houses, etc. Now, federal government have been drawing, using bonds and other security through the CBN to draw down this account. So first, what we are saying is, look, accept responsibility that you failed to manage the economy properly. 2, you never gave one. Even when we argued that the economy was in distress, she was always on record as saying, no, everything was fine. The economy was strong. We are the largest economy in the continent. Of course, people are not fooled. I mean, just revalue your asset and play with numbers. What has changed the quality of life of the people? You rebase the economy. Have you rebased the quality of life? You haven't. But that also has its own negative consequences. Because if you claim to be the largest economy, you can also plead the sovereignty at the same time. So I think what we're asking her to do is open the old books. Now, what the council has asked us to do, the committee of 4 governors, is to just look at this SS routine and show what went in, who took what, when, and who authorized it. So at least we have a basis to start. But I think going forward, we will need a forensic audit by competent auditors to look at the book so that the whole truth can be known, even if we can't retrieve some of the things. I believe a lot can be retrieved, but if what cannot be retrieved, it's good that we have a basis to identify who is responsible and who is to be blamed.
Just so you know, sir, some people are saying that, Governor Oshiomhole must really hate Madam Ngozi. You're doing this for the good of the country, right? It wasn't as if there's any dispute or anything before this came out.
I think what people should recognize is that from my own background, I am never intimidated. I am, as a labor leader, I question authority, I interrogate power, and the fact of being in government doesn't offer me so much comfort as to be different about gross abuse of power and criminal diversion of funds. I mean, what should I hate her for? What for? I'm not a federal official. I'm not seeking federal appointment. I'm as privileged as any other governor, but I'm troubled by people say one thing in the afternoon and doing the other thing at night. People should ask the question, how come each time issues of corruption and abuse or diversion of funds is raised, Minister Ngozi was the first to defend rather than show cause and have open mind? Remember when the CBN governor, who you can't dismiss, you might say I'm not a finance minister, but the CBN governor should know. He talks about huge billions of dollars diverted. Ngozi was quick to say, no, it's not 40 billion. It's only $10.8 billion. If that is offensive to good conscience. And then later, we are going to do forensic audit. NNPC books have not been audited. How can she preside over an economy in which the main player, such as NNPC, is not but as a matter of course, carry out annual audit? Why should that happen under her watch? Why should that happen? And a lot of funds accrued to institutions like Nasima were diverted. Why should that happen under her watch? Contracts are awarded without any bidding. I mean, if people say there's so much corruption in Nigeria, who was presiding over the economy? And she's not on record as having raised alarm on any abuse of office. So, I mean, there's nothing personal about it. If anything, I consider her a friend, but she knows that my friendship is subordinated to the bigger national interest. I mean, what do I start to gain? I can also play along, keep quiet, be a good boy, but I'd rather be a good boy to my conscience, not to anybody's face. So the truth is, she should answer the questions. Somebody said, because I didn't approve, because the governor wanted to borrow money to pay contractors, are very good. I wanted to borrow money to pay contractors, not to pay workers. But she was borrowing money to pay salaries. I have never borrowed money. I am up to date in payment of salaries. So I am not grumbling because I'm frustrated. I am making the point because that is the truth. She is not entitled to claim an honor that she doesn't deserve in the face of these, huge numbers that cannot be accounted for. I'm sure very soon when the various agencies, because I believe the president is quietly doing some work, try to understand what went wrong, the rot that he inherited, who is responsible for what. When those numbers begin to come out, I will expect the minister to explain how she can claim to have been a successful coordinating minister of the economy, and yet the economy suffers so much bleeding and aversion. Here in Washington, everybody is talking about billions of dollars of Nigeria crude money that was taken. How could you supervise an economy? You are cooking the soup. The elephant leg is being stolen. You're not raising alarm. People raise alarm. You shut them up. So I think Nigeria should move away from settlement. I've even heard people saying, ethnic issues. It's the typical Nigeria thing. When a public officer has no explanation, they seek escape route by appealing to base settlement, primordial settlement, religion, ethnicity. For people like me, that doesn't disturb me at all. I am a union man. I have always interrogated power. When I was in the NLC, I challenged some of our policies. So she knows where I stand. I'd rather be known for something than to be known for nothing.
So what do you think about the effort of this administration to probe the former president, Goodluck Jonathan? I
don't think the probe is the right word. For a president whose major campaign was his on, if we don't kill corruption, corruption will kill us, it's only natural that he recovers what was stolen. And I think it's only patriotic that we do that. More so when you are inheriting huge debt burden, and you will be devoting huge resources to service those debts. So if we recover money from Abacha's government, even after his death, why should anybody ask question whether, if indeed, I don't think it's about probing. The evidence is all over the place. Probe means investigating what is not obvious. But when you can see a thief stealing, and you can arrest him and ask him and recover what has been stolen, that is not probe. Probe is like finding what is not clear. It's so clear that so much money was diverted. I mean, even that we are told you are losing 400,000 barrels a day. How can that happen? Since when? How come that during Obasanjo we never suffered such huge loss? Yes, we've already had issues of illegal bunkering, but you talk of 10,000 barrels, 20,000 barrels. How can anybody explain 400,000 barrels consistently for 2-3 consecutive years? And incidentally, this is the time the government gave out contract to people to protect the pipelines. And huge sums of money were paid. And so you are asking yourself, how come during the previous government under Yaradua, even at the peak of militancy, we didn't suffer this huge hemorrhage? And I'm sure very soon people. I think it's not about choice for President Buhari. He doesn't have. It's not a choice whether or not to recover what has been taken. I think he is obliged to do it in the national interest, because if he doesn't do it, I don't see how you can shy away from it. I mean, it's like seeing something stolen from your household and you refuse to pick it. You can see the thief, and sometimes you even can see the stolen good.
Are you saying President Jonathan was a thief?
I'm not saying so. I'm saying that a lot of stealing went on under his watch, and there's no question about that. But as to his so personal level of guilt, this is not for me to say. But every president, like every governor, like every local government chairman, must accept responsibility for what happened under your watch. You know, I mean, leadership is really about responsibility.